Can you believe it? September's almost here. And if you're anything like me, that back to school feeling is starting to creep in. Maybe it's the ex-teacher in me, but it always feels more like a real new year than January. But with that, often the pace begins to pick up after a more leisurely summer. And before you've even clocked it, you're back into the full-on juggle and you're sprinting through the weeks in the run-up to Christmas. Yes, sorry, I did say the C word. But that's usually when the spiral kicks in. You know the one where one small thought suddenly snowballs into 10 worst-case scenarios, or a flicker of worry becomes a full-blown mental detour. That's because when your system's already wired for go, 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 it only takes the smallest thing, the ping of an email or a harsh tone from a colleague or a snarky comment from your teenager, and suddenly your shoulders are up by your ears and you snap, you lose it, and you start then that spiral of guilt, of worry, of endless unhelpful thoughts. So this September, I'm inviting you to change that. It's called the Nervous System Rewire. You'll get 4 weeks access inside my membership, The Inner Space, to help you interrupt that spiral and come back to calm in the exact moments you need it most. This isn't about trying to relax. It's about retraining your body so calm becomes your default setting. Plus, when you reset your body's baseline, you create more space to pause, to notice, to choose your response instead of spiraling. And that is so powerful. And with the right techniques, which I'm going to teach, you can even stop a spiral in its tracks before it takes hold. So this is for you if you find yourself snapping over little things or carrying that constant undercurrent of tension, or if you're someone who lies in bed with a busy mind that just won't switch off. We're going to meet live 3 mornings a week for short breathwork sessions. Don't worry if you can't make them live, as all the replays will be available. You'll also learn my pattern breaker techniques until they become second nature, and you're going to get gentle daily nudges to keep you on track. And you're, of course, going to get a fantastic community of women doing it alongside you. For all this, it's just £37 for the whole month. I really hope to see you in there. We start on Monday, the 2nd of September. So instead of just going back to your old routine this year, maybe it's time to go back to calm, back to a place where you get to respond in the way you want to rather than react and spiral. I'd love to have you with us. For more information and to join, you can go to pollywarren.com/the inner space, and I'll put that link in the show notes. Now let's get on with this episode. Welcome to Thursday Thoughts, your weekly dose of real, honest conversation on all things personal growth. These are the chats Lucy and I love having every week over on Instagram. They're unfiltered, unedited, and always rooted in practical tools and a dose of inspiration. Let's dive in.
So basically, the reason why this particular topic came to mind is because it's something that we were talking about. I had 2 membership calls this weekend, and I asked the same question on both of those calls. And I think it's something we've definitely talked about before, but in a slightly, this is sort of putting it in a slightly different way. But I think it's really useful to think about this. And obviously my audience, my listeners, and the women in my membership are single, child-free women or childless women, depending on how they identify. But one of my questions to them over the weekend was, are you viewing your whole life through the frame of being single? And obviously this can be applied to anything. It can be applied to, are you viewing your life through the frame of being broke or overwhelmed or whatever it is? But I think this, because coming from a single woman perspective, I know that one of the things that I talk about is that being single is not the problem, right? You're not unhappy because you're single. It's just life doesn't work like that. But I think some single women can have a tendency to look at all of their problems in life through the lens of, I'm single. So, well, I'm down because I'm single. I'm lonely because I'm single. And so I just thought it was a really interesting thing to just think about and for us to talk about, because I've definitely done things like that when I've been looking at my life through this frame of whatever it is, that I'm broke, or I'm lonely, or I'm this, or I'm that. And I think it just makes us really have a look at ourselves and ask whether perhaps we're slightly sitting in that kind of victim mode. And are we translating everything that happens? So an example that I was giving over the weekend to the women in my membership is, for example, when you walk down the street and see a happy couple, do you immediately think, oh my God, there's a happy couple and I'm all lonely? Or are they just two fucking people walking down the street? So that's an example. Or, are you walking through a park and there's a family, and you immediately, rather than just seeing them as, a family of people just hanging out in the park, you immediately view that through the frame of, oh my God, I'm single and there's a family. So, and again, this doesn't have to just be in relation to being single or not having kids. It can be applied to anything. But I think it's a really useful way of looking at ourselves and saying, what am I allowing to kind of cloud the view that I have of the world? What stories do I have going around and around and around? Maybe it's just that you're really negative. Am I allowing my negativity to impact the way that I see the world and I see life and I see myself? And am I allowing this negativity that I have to impact every single interaction that I have, every single situation that I find myself in? So I just think it's a really useful exercise to ask ourselves, how am I clouding my judgment, and how can I perhaps start letting that go and try and put on a different pair of glasses to see the world through a different lens? Because, and this we definitely have talked about before, but I always feel that all of these things bear repeating, because I certainly needed to hear the same things 5,073 times before the penny dropped, and I was like, oh, now I get it. So I don't think you can say these things enough. We always need that reminder. So that was why I thought this would be a good one to talk about.
Yeah, I agree. And it's kind of, it's the lens through which we are seeing life. And it really is as simple as like it's like having a filter. There's all these filters on Instagram. You can decide what filter you want to put on in terms of how do you want to see the world, or how do you want to be perceived. And it's the same with us. And when you were talking then, there was a few filters, which I know I have used in my life a lot. One of them was I've got so much on my plate is too full, and I'm always so too busy for anything. And I used to go around the world, go around my days looking at other people, and particularly friends. And when I was invited to do things and I couldn't do them because I literally had not a moment, I had nobody supporting me with any of the kids. And I was like, how are these people going about and doing all these other things when I literally cannot do anything because I am so busy? And that was on repeat. And actually, I wish then I had known that I could have perhaps changed that. It's like, okay, I am busy at this particular point in my moment in time, but this is so short-lived. Let me try and enjoy every second, because it's not going to last forever. And maybe I can go and do something. It really is just a shift in perspective. That was one which really stood out. The other one is, which I think a lot of women particularly can really associate with, is this aging, is getting older. What filter are you using when it comes to aging? When you look in the mirror? Yeah, exactly. When you look in the mirror, and do you constantly say to yourself, oh my gosh, there's another wrinkle, I'm so old, I look so awful, and everything's creaking, it's all downhill from now? Or can you switch that up and go, my God, actually, God, I don't look too bad for my age. And I'm doing everything I can to look after myself. So I'm fit and healthy. And actually, every sign on my face is a sign of a life well lived. So it's totally changing that perspective, switching it around. Because it matters, because it then affects how we feel. It affects the emotions that we have in our body. It can switch us into a much more positive way of being. And then, of course, as we've spoken about before, you then pick up on more positive aspects throughout your day. You're not constantly picking up, your radar isn't constantly going for the negative, which is the default. You're actually going for the more positive. And I know it takes practice, and it is about awareness of catching yourself in those moments, but it's a much nicer way. It's a much better way to live, is when you can literally take off those old glasses and put the new ones on with the new, more shiny filter, and life is good. And you notice it. You can't help but notice when other people, you can notice their filter that they've got on. That it's like, oh gosh, there's some people you talk to, it's like, can we just stop going on and on about the negative things about you, about the world, about the situation you're in? And I sympathize, I empathize. It's good that you can share it, but actually, can we look at some of the good? Let's look at the positives of the situation. Let's just switch it around. It's just a massive reframe. That's what we're talking about, really. How can you reframe your current situation for something which actually is just a little bit better, and something which is going to make you feel better ultimately at the end of the day? And a great way to do that is gratitude, is just to be grateful for what do you have. If you're old and if you're looking at yourself and going, oh my God, I'm so old, I've really lost my looks, I'm putting on weight, these are all things which happen when we get older. But let's be grateful for what we have. My gosh, but my body actually, I can walk, I can move it. I've got two legs that work. If you have, it's like not everybody has that. It's like, let's really be grateful for a functioning, working body, and it can really switch it around.
Yeah, totally. I was going to say about gratitude and how actually I completely agree. And it's like, speaking of lenses and which lens are you looking through when you start, you can just, for example, spend a day and go, today I'm choosing to put on a pair of glasses that show me, that pick up gratitude for the world around me. And you can just make a decision for just one day to walk through the world, to move through your day from a place of being thankful. And the more that you look for those things, the more of those things that you find. We've definitely said this before, but again, it always bears repeating. So if you think about, right, today, I'm literally the lens, I'm going to put new lenses in my glasses. I'm going to put them on my face today. And this is the filter that I'm going to be looking through today, and just practice it for a day. And when it comes to, two things that I just want to sort of mention. Firstly, really ask yourself if the way that you're viewing the world is actually serving you. How do you feel most of the time? Like, if you're feeling a bit shit, if you're feeling a bit down, you're feeling a bit low, you're feeling a bit negative, ask yourself, what stories am I actually saying to myself that are making me feel like this? And is this serving me? One other thing, going back to my membership calls this weekend, I used the example of that kind of woe is me. Are you being woe is me? I absolutely used to be woe is me. It was like, woe is me this, but do you know what I mean? And I think many of us are, without even realizing it. So the first thing is we've got to start looking at what lens are we looking through? What filter do we have on the world? Because there's a lot of, if we want to look through a bad filter, we're going to pick up on a lot of bad, because there's a lot of shit going on that if we want to tune into, we can. But alternatively, there's a lot of good stuff going on. If we put that other pair of glasses on, look through that other filter, we can also find all the great stuff. So it really is being intentional, and this is where morning routines come in so handy, because when you start your day off with intention and you make that decision, right, today, I am deciding today that I am going to see the world through a lens of gratitude. This is what I'm looking for today. This is what I'm going to find today. And if you're looking for it, you will find it, whatever lens that is. So I think, just ask yourselves, how you are viewing the world. And is there something, like you know, use the example of always being really busy, and that's one that I can be guilty of to this day. I often am like, oh my God, I'm so busy and I've got so much to do and I'm so overwhelmed. And then I just see everything through that filter. And it doesn't help me. It doesn't help me with my busyness. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. It kind of just makes it much worse because you're
Yeah.
just ruminating on how
Yeah.
much you've got to do, and it makes you then feel then that kind of gets you into that spiral of, and I'm so stressed, and it keeps
Yeah.
your body feeling really stressed. And yeah, we can all go there, but it is, as you say, it's starting your day with that intention. And I kind of almost see it like when we do these sort of intentional practices as well. So, for example, say I was doing a morning breathwork practice in the morning, it's almost like if your glasses have become a bit dirty and a bit smudged, and you're starting to go down that road of, oh gosh, things aren't working out for me. Oh, why isn't things not happening yet? Or actually, by resetting, by doing one of these practices, whether it's a meditation, whether it's a breathwork practice, whether it's just getting quiet, it's almost like you are cleaning those glasses. You're letting go of that old you, that old story. You're giving your glasses a really good shine up so that you can start to see again the world from a much clearer, brighter perspective. And that's what it does for me. It's like a daily reset. Right. Okay, come on. You know, it's interesting. I found myself last week. Generally, I'm the one in this house who's kind of constantly trying to put a positive spin on everybody's shit. You know, some people are feeling a bit down or whatever. I'm the one who's kind of like, come on, and I'm helping them to see it in a more positive way. But last week, I went down there. You know, it happens. It happens to all of us. You know, it was about, it was to do with my business. It was a bit like just frustrations of certain things which weren't working, weren't happening. And so I had a good old vent, which is really helpful sometimes. It's good to get it out, have a good vent. But then actually it was Giles, my husband, he was like, right, can you switch? This isn't like you. What's going on? You know, you need to switch it up. And actually it literally was that conscious a moment of awareness where it's like, yeah, okay, that was good to get it out. I've had a good old vent. But now let's just switch it up. And all I simply did was I just started to think about all the bloody brilliant things that I was doing and that had happened recently, and that the moment, you know, I just focused on that. And there was a massive list of brilliant things I could focus on. Yes, there was also a list of not so good things, but which I had been focusing on, but I just literally switched it. And it was amazing. It totally works 100%. And it just is a reminder, right, I can do this, keep going. You know, things can be difficult. And yes, you can get affected by things not working, which is why we're having these conversations. So why we can keep these things at top of mind, which is why we got to keep talking about them so that we keep practicing, because it is such a nicer way to live. And instantly I felt the shift, and instantly I just felt like that heaviness had just lifted. So let's do that more, because we don't want to be walking around total doom and gloom, because we then become an energy drain. We're not particularly nice people to be around. We're then picking up on all the negativity around us, as we said. So we prefer these people in life. We want to hang out with these people in life who've got a lighter energy, who can see everything from a brighter perspective, because we're only here once. This is it. This is our life. We've got to live it. So yeah.
A very quick break to ask you to hit the follow or subscribe button if you haven't already. And if you're enjoying this episode, I'd be super grateful if you could hit those stars and rate it too. Thank you.
Totally. You just made me think of the second question that I was asking on our live calls this weekend, which is, and because you kind of spoke to it then, is how long do you hold on to things? And like you said, you know, Giles kind of pointed out like what's going on with you, and come on, you've got to come out of this. And so you switched, you shifted. And I think often it's down to, like, of course, we're all, like you said, we're all going to feel shit. We're all going to feel down. We're all going to feel anxious. We're all going to feel overwhelmed, whatever. We're all going to feel stressed, whatever it is. We're all going to get pissed off. But the question is partly, you know, how long will you allow yourself to sit in that place? I think this is such a key question, because of course we're all going to come up against things every day that are going to throw us slightly off course. We can't walk around doing fucking cartwheels all day, every day, feeling amazing. That's just not realistic for any of us. But we can be aware of how long we're holding on to, particularly the really little things that we have no control over. How long are we allowing those things to wind us up, bring us down? Like an example I was giving to the women in my membership is like, if somebody makes a comment about your single status, if somebody says something at a family dinner, or, you know, someone says, oh, are you still single or whatever, are you going to allow that comment from that person to bring you down? Of course, you're allowed to be like, you're allowed to, it can sing, and that's so you're allowed to feel that. Of course, you're allowed to feel those negative emotions, but if we're holding on to them for, you know, the whole day or the whole week, then we have to ask ourselves, you know, you can't be like, well, but they said that to me, and therefore, no, it doesn't work like that. You have the choice to move yourself out of that emotion. And again, going back to the kind of, what lens are you looking through? Like I was talking about how I hear so many single women blame their singlehood on everything that is going wrong, and also, sorry, what I meant to say is thinking about, like, for example, the difficulties of being single. So let's take finances. I hear so many women bring up time and time again, but, you know, when you're single, everything is so much harder. Everything is so much expensive. You know, you're not splitting the rent with people. You're not splitting the mortgage with someone, da, da, da. And that may be true, but what's the fucking point in going on and on and on about it? Do you know what I mean? It's not going to change anything. It doesn't mean we're not right to have those thoughts or that moment when it's like, you know, for example, I just was looking at my online account this morning and I saw, you know, my council tax, my flat in London coming out, which is a lot of money for one person, right? Council tax, single people do not only have to pay half, it's ridiculous. We have to pay like 3/4. It seems really unfair. But certain people go, just repeat that, or like go on and on about these same issues. For example, with financial difficulties when you're single, and not undermining that. And I am a single person too, I get it. But the point is, and the question to ask yourself is, how am I helping myself or the situation by replaying this story and focusing on this? How is this filter on my life actually helping me? It's not going to change anything. It's certainly not going to help me or help anyone else. So again, it's are you holding on to things? Are you reinforcing the bad stuff in your life? You know, always comes back to, where is your attention? What has your attention? Because whatever has your attention, that's where you're going. So if your attention is on, oh my God, well, when you're single, it's so, you know, the financial side of it is so difficult. It's just so difficult being single. I have to do everything by myself. If your attention is on that, that is what your life is going to be about. Yeah. You know, we have to be aware of where we're giving our power away to, giving our attention away to things that are not helping us in any way. And again, it's not to undermine difficult things in life, but we all have them. All of us, whether you're, you know, single life brings a completely different set of challenges than family life. Like, I don't have a husband and 3 kids like you do, but my God, you have challenges in your life that I don't have to think about. So whatever life we're living, there are always going to be challenges. But the question is, how are we focusing on all of the difficult things all of the time? And I think we do, you know, it's that negative bias. As humans, we have a tendency to focus on the negative. So we have to pull ourselves up. Because to use like a Mel Robbins expression, or lots of other people, it's like, no one's coming to save you. No one's coming to save you. So fucking say, you know, we have to recognize what we're doing and go, I have to save myself here. No one is coming to save me. So what am I going to do? Am I going to keep banging on about this same thing over and over and over again? Or am I going to realize that it is not serving me? Am I going to shift my focus and place my attention on something that is? Because me looking at life through this lens is not helping me. So let me put on a lens with an entirely different filter.
Yeah,
you know?
exactly. Yeah, absolutely. It's about, you've got to not just dwell in it. You've got to just take some action. You've got to, really just keep moving forward. You made me think of, so for example, my daughter who's dyslexic, who has ADHD tendencies, and she could absolutely, I've caught her, you could potentially blame, oh, I can't do this because I'm dyslexic, or I can't do that, I can't concentrate, mum, because I've got ADHD, or, using them as excuses for not being able to do something. And it's like, no, I'm not having that. I'm not having that. You absolutely can do it, and stop using them as excuses for reasons that you can't. You just have to find different ways. And how many amazingly successful dyslexics are there out in the world, because they have had to access different parts of their brain, their creativity, to make things work. So they haven't used it as an excuse. You don't use these things as an excuse. And it's very easy for us to kind of sit back and go, well, that's because I can't, because I've got this thing. Bullshit. You can totally, you might have to work a little bit harder at certain things like maths and, things which you don't necessarily enjoy, but you can do it, and it's not the be all and end all. So let's just focus on the things that you can do really, really, really well. And that is going to be a better focus for you. So it's just again, for people just to notice, where are you making those excuses for yourself? And actually, can you actually shift that and see that you can actually do things better than a lot of other people because of the way you are, not in spite of it?
And also, this is such a good point and so relevant to this conversation. I mean, it makes me think of depression, because that is another label that we might put on ourselves. And actually, I think in many ways, labels are not helpful, because what we end up doing is going, I have depression, I am depressed, that is who I am. And I'm not, without wishing to, of course, do me wrong, depression is a serious illness. I get it. And actually, I've had my own issues with depression back in my 20s, actually. So I know what it feels like. But I think when we, like you were saying about your daughter with the ADHD and dyslexia, it's like when we sort of stick ourselves to a label, actually, we hold ourselves back more than we realize, because you can currently be experiencing symptoms of depression. That doesn't mean it's who you are. It's when we make it who we are that there is a danger that we don't realize that we are holding ourselves back. And again, trying to be very careful with what I say here. It's not undermining depression as a serious illness. I get it. But I do think there is an argument to say that when we put labels on ourselves, we do sometimes use that as an excuse to not, well, I can't do this or I can't do that because I'm depressed, because I have depression, because that is who I am. Or, it could be, well, because I'm 65, I can't start this new thing. Bollocks. You fucking can. I don't care if you're 65 or 25. So I think we just have to be really aware of again, it's the stories we're telling ourselves and how are they limiting us. So
No, it's a good, and I think it's just you can take those glasses off and put the new ones on, and I think that's just such a nice way to think about it. So just become aware. What is your story? What glasses are you wearing? What perspective are you seeing the world? And how can you shift that? And I would really recommend in the morning as you wake up, really check in with yourself. How can I shift my focus today? How can I see the world through the lens in which I want to, and make it more shiny and brighter? And okay, as you said, it's not all unicorns and rainbows all the time, but actually it does work. You can reframe things to work for you. This isn't about, that victim mentality of everything's against you. We can make it work for us. So that is the invitation this morning.
Totally. And may I just say, just to add one tiny thing, we've talked about walking and exercise and getting out in nature, but my question to people is, like, if you're feeling not great, are you getting out? Like we talk about, we've touched on morning routines, because actually just a 10-minute walk with an inspirational podcast in your ears, can you fit that in every morning? Because a 10-minute walk, longer if possible, is going to really shift your mood and how you start your day. So like it's just it sounds like a little thing, but we can all find that in our day. Dare I say, we can get up 10 minutes earlier to just go and go for a walk, because that, if you start your day with intention, you start your day by doing something positive and listening to something positive, it's amazing how that enables you then to put a different pair of glasses on. I think it makes it easier. Do you know what I mean? So just throw that in there.
Yeah, brilliant. Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, there's so many things we can do. I would highly recommend coming to the inner space and doing some of my sessions, because that instantly is going to you might come to it feeling really anxious, really kind of heavy. And I know that something will shift in you in just 15, 20 minutes. You will feel lighter, brighter, and much more ready to start the day. So it's like all these things. It's just like, you've got to be intentional about it.
Totally. Well, we'll be back next week.
We will. It's Bank Holiday Monday on Monday, so maybe it might be Tuesday, but we'll discuss.
Okay. Yeah, we'll discuss it. All right, love.
All right.
I completely forgot it's Bank Holiday. I never know when it's Bank Holiday anymore. All right, love. I'll speak to you later.
All right. See
Have a good day.
Bye.
Bye. Bye.